This is As the World Burns with Randall Burns. Tesla's mission is to move the world to sustainable energy. It has been doing so by making higher end cars and solar power systems. It appears poised to rapidly become a major automotive vendor, a major vendor of automotive technology, and a vendor of public transportation systems. So what does this mean for real estate investors? One of the major goals of Tesla is reducing the cost per mile over 50%. Areas differ considerably in miles driven. For the highest driving states in the United States, that's over 12,000 miles per year for every man, woman, and child in the state. And when we look at the current cost per mile at around 70 cents a mile, and you drop that in half, that's the equivalent of a very large tax cut. And we all know that tax cuts raise real estate prices. So let that one sink in, right? It's going to affect some areas quite a bit more than others. It's going to affect areas like Wyoming and Utah more than it will, say, downtown San Francisco and New York City from that angle. It doesn't stop there. Congestion and pollution in urban areas have a major downward pressure on real estate prices. I have a link in the comments below on that. And Teslas are a low polluting vehicle, and they have plans that they're a very low polluting vehicle. Now, a lot of people, we've kind of learned to live with this pollution and gotten kind of inured to it. But we're in a world where a lot of children that grow up near busy freeways get permanent lung damage. That's been one of the reasons why a lot of people abandon what used to be nicer neighborhoods close in, because as cars became more common, pollution levels increased, and when there was an alternative, people took it. And so, like, I used to live in a neighborhood that had been a fairly middle-class neighborhood in Chicago, that by the time I got there had become the second poorest neighborhood in the entire city of Chicago. That's Woodlawn South, which is south of the University of Chicago campus. It's since been gentrified because the location really is a nice location, but there was very real disruption there during the suburbanization era. And that shouldn't be underestimated with this also. As an investor, you're going to have to be very, very careful moving forward to making sure that you're on the right side of change, and you may want to make hedges as you move forward with this. One obvious hedge is simply to own a little Tesla stock. I mean, even if you're not really into it as an investor, if they do succeed, that may cover losses if you happen to be a real estate investor in a higher risk area. Options are another path, which are more leveraged insurance policy if you don't think their chance of success is very high. Tesla also has active plans to reduce congestion in urban areas via its partner, the Boring Company. That is almost ready right now to showcase in Las Vegas. And I've done a video on that, which I link to below, that tells people something about that. I think it's been greatly underestimated just how important this is, both to the company and to the national mindset on this area. The Boring Company is greatly reducing tunneling costs. That opens the possibility of greatly rationalizing transportation patterns in major urban areas. A lot of these freeways were built without a lot of thought about where people really wanted to go. And so you can get a lot more direct routes with newer tunnels that are built with that knowledge in place. And that changes things considerably. Right now, the Las Vegas Convention Center Loop is using only Tesla-owned and operated vehicles. That may change as Tesla develops a robo-taxi network that will include privately owned vehicles, and Tesla licenses its technology to other vendors, which will open the possibility of cars from other vendors, like Aptera is a prime example, a very small two-seat three-wheel vehicle that has some very nice features and is highly efficient. But and Tesla, one of the things that's unique about Tesla's autonomy solution, it is a generalized solution. It's meant to at least work in every location. I think they're going to break down and do some mapping in some of the higher volume areas and most traveled areas. But the thing they've been really pushing on is having a generalized solution. So you can put a car any place, and with just a minimalistic map, it can work at least somewhat. And I think they're far ahead of that than any other vendor that I've seen. I think autonomy will catch on, and I think it'll become like as much part of transportation as automobiles are today compared to the horse and buggy era. And Tesla will become the dominant vendor in autonomy solutions, as dominant as Microsoft was in the desktop at its peak, but probably with a more of a longer, a bigger moat than what Microsoft had. This may be, in fact, autonomy software and automotive technology may be a bigger profit center for Tesla than selling cars. I've done a back of the envelope calculation, and that's what it showed me. There may emerge major transportation routes in which the only way to access key locations is using Tesla technology. This is as big of a real estate opportunity and risk as was the expansion of suburbs after the emergence of the automobile and after the World War II era. Now let that sink in. That was a huge sea change. Okay, you had neighborhoods that declined, you had neighborhoods that rose, you had a really big change in the real estate market. This is going to be hard to predict. No one person will get their head around that. You're going to need to rely on sites like Metaculus to have any hope of having some accurate information on this area. You will not get it from trade magazines. They just do not have this kind of predictive ability in place. Metaculus does. Metaculus is roughly as accurate as a CIA analyst, and it's your best low-cost solution that I'm aware of. When I find a better one, I will talk about it on this channel. I do not have any connection to Metaculus other than being a participant, and I did win a contest there. I won a sweatshirt there, but other than that, I have no financial connection there. But these specialized toll roads will operate at 2 to 3 times the speed we see in old-fashioned freeways with less congestion and along more direct routes. And they are going to become the preferred transportation solution for certain I'd say medium-end routes. Tesla has Elon Musk open sourced the technology, the Hyperloop, for intercity travel, and that's another story, and that's a ways from being developed, but it may be. I think we'll see the emergence of new high-end communities designed from the ground up with these newer technologies in mind. That may be an opportunity to correct some of the problems we saw in the post-World War II era suburbs, like social isolation and sterility stemming from the main social congregating points being commercial centers, which I think has been a real cultural problem. And I think a lot of people are kind of fed up with this. And this is an opportunity to change it. I'm not sure it will happen, but I think that's a discussion that deserves to start fairly soon. It is also very important for elders because automotive autonomy means extending their independent living years significantly in existing neighborhoods. They don't necessarily have to go to someplace like Sun City to have an area that's suited to them. They can stay near their families and existing communities and grandchildren longer. That's important in part as a stabilizing factor in certain neighborhoods. I mean, having the elders being able to stay in the neighborhood they've been part of most of their life a little bit longer may have some positive features there. It's also going to have some major public health effects because automotive autonomy will increase pedestrian and cyclist safety, which could well be reflected in things like improved public health and lower obesity rates, particularly in communities that most heavily and rapidly embrace these technologies. This could also involve, enterprising real estate developers creating private toll roads to, say, a themed condo development or an arcology situated in a large private park. I've only started covering this area. We have Metaculus questions. I'd love to hear from more experienced real estate developers on this area in the comments below. I would also appreciate more help mapping the future in this area at Metaculus. I don't want to do it all by myself. I want to be part of a team on this. Please like this video and subscribe if you want to see more similar content. I've only started in the interest of full disclosure, here's my predictive track record is in the description below. I am not a corporate con artist. I am accountable in my predictions, and you can see where I've been right, where I've been wrong. Make your own judgment. Don't be a sheep. Think for yourself. And one of the best things you can do is get on Metaculus and see what your areas of competency and blind spots really are. Do yourself a favor. It's a priceless gift to yourself. And so then you can appreciate what I'm doing here and what other people are doing, and you can learn from the people that have strengths in areas where you are, and you can help people that don't have your strengths. It's really a wonderful thing to be part of. Again, this channel is not a corporate con job. My integrity is not for sale. I proudly, in a previous life, helped bring a corporate con artist to a degree of justice. I worked for over 2 years on the investigation of an insurance CEO who wound up pleading guilty to a felony charge of illegal campaign donations. This is something other people read in the news. I lived it in real life. He got a wrist slap and he was out shortly later and became a repeat offender. But I tried. I worked really hard on that case, and I have a clean conscience on that one. And it taught me a lot about the way the justice system really worked. There's also a link to my writings on Quora on a whole variety of topics. And I really do appreciate hearing from all of you folks, and I appreciate your presence here. I'm doing this in part because I really do care about people, and I want to do what I can to help lead us to the best possible future. This is As the World Burns with Randall Burns, signing off for now. I'll be back soon.